In this video, I will talk about 3 mistakes that new Uber Black drivers do, which I did some of them too. Let's get started. Number 3 is not opening a business entity early enough. This was my mistake, and I want other people not to make that mistake. Let me explain. By business entity, I mean LLC, corporation, S corporation, whatever business entity that you want to open, you should open early on. I wish I opened it while I was driving for UberX or I was doing any kind of delivery, so that there's a history of my business. Because when you grow into Uber Black, this is something very important. And because of this mistake, I paid a little bit more in taxes this year. Let me explain. So while I was driving a rental car, I rented a Suburban, if you guys remember, and I drove around probably 10 months. I used that rental car to the Uber Black, and I made pretty good amount of money. Overall, I think while I was renting from Uber, I made around around $65,000. But I received around $45,000 because $600 every week I paid for Suburban that I rented. And the guy who I rented from in the end of the year on January, he actually sent me 1099, but he sent that $45,000 into my personal name. Even though I told him that, hey, I opened a business account, I have my business entity now, please send all the information, all the money into my S corporation. Don't pay it directly to me, do it through my business so that I pay less money on taxes. But I don't know what happened there. Maybe he said, F you, I don't care about this stuff. But he gave me 1099 on my personal name, around $45,000. And this year my tax were around $75,000. This is pretty a lot comparing to last year. I remember it was around $45,000, and this year around $75,000. Not counting around $30,000 that I paid that guy that I rented the car from. If those money also came into my account, it would be around 100K at least. It would be mind-blowing. They would be a lot probably difficult to make any tax deductible. But here's the thing. My tax accountant went through all the transactions, everything that was needed for me to apply for tax. And in the end of the day, the conclusion was that if the guy who sent $45,000 into my personal name, if he would send it into my S corporation, I wouldn't pay any tax at all. But as he sent that money into my personal name, which means that $45,000 I made as a sole prop. There's no business entity, only sole prop. I have to pay self-employment tax. And that self-employment tax, even though it was not a lot, I paid around $514. But I wish I didn't pay that. If he sent all that money into my business, into my S corp, I would pay $0 for taxes. That's one of the important things why you have to open a business. Especially for my situation, S corp was the best thing that I could go for, and it was very helpful. Also, when you start shopping for cars in order to do Uber Black, especially in California, the car should be under a business name, and the car loan also should be under a business name so that you get commercial auto loan in order to get commercial registration, in order to get commercial insurance. So all these steps are very important, but if you don't have any history of the business, there is no income coming in, there is no expenses, there is no history with the bank, and overall, if the business is 2 years and younger, it's very difficult to get a business loan. That's why having a business entity, opening a business entity and opening a business checking account and going through all of that information early on and having all that history will help you to get a car loan, especially commercial auto loan, for doing Uber Black. Mistake number 2 is shopping for very expensive cars. And this is the problem that I had. Because I was looking for SUVs, and I was looking, for example, at the Suburbans because they are one of the cheapest options that you could go for. And they were like around $50,000. And also I was looking around for Escalades. They were around even $10,000 more expensive. Let's say for the same year, around $60,000 they cost. And I was looking, thinking in the back of my head that, hey, I don't have $50,000. I don't even have $60,000. I'm going into a debt. Maybe I would choose a more expensive car, more luxurious car, because I'm going into debt anyway. $50,000 in debt or $60,000 in debt doesn't make any big difference. I was thinking in the back of my head, maybe I will start looking for Escalades. Thankfully, I went through numbers and I understood one simple thing, that you have to buy the cheapest option, the cheapest car you could find. If you are looking for SUV, look for the cheapest option for SUV that you could find. Or if you are looking for a sedan, look for the cheapest options that you could find. Don't go for the most expensive thing that you can find, because you have to go through numbers. $50,000 versus $60,000, it is extra $10,000. But if you put it under percentage APR that you pay for it, around, let's say, 6%, that $10,000 during 3-4 years, that will be a lot of money. So don't go for the most expensive car. If you are looking for SUV, choose the cheapest and most reliable option that you can find. And the cheapest and most reliable cars for SUV to do Uber Black are Chevy Suburban or GMC Yukon XL. If you are looking for, I don't know, Escalade, I wouldn't go for it as a first car. I would go for the cheapest options. So this is my recommendation. And number one, I think this is the most important mistake that people should not make. But I've seen people messaging me and asking for help while they did that mistake. And the mistake number one is, do not get personal auto loan. If you are not in California, in any other state, first of all, go to the Uber hub and ask, can I start driving for Uber Black if the car is under my personal auto loan? Because in California, the car must be under commercial auto loan, which means under a business name, and not just the business name on the registration. It has to be commercial registration. If you don't have commercial registration, you cannot do Uber Black, you cannot get TCP at all. So you have to get commercial auto loan, or you have to buy the car cash. If you buy the car cash, you go to DMV and say, hey, I need commercial registration. It will be easier to do. But if you get a personal auto loan, and then you find out that you have to have a commercial auto loan, that will be very, very difficult to change it, especially if your business is new. It will be very, very problematic. And I've seen a couple people texting me and asking for suggestions when they bought a personal auto loan. They bought around new Suburbans for $65,000. They got personal auto loan. It is not difficult to get personal auto loan. It is pretty easy. It doesn't matter what is your score. Your APR will be affected by the score, but they will approve you to buy that expensive car. But unfortunately, you cannot do Uber Black. You cannot go through the TCP process. It has to be commercial auto loan. It has to be through the business. If the business is under 2 years old, you personally will be a co-signer. The business is the one that is applying for a commercial loan, and you as a person, you give a guarantee for that loan, and you will be a co-signer. So you have to have good credit, first of all, if your business is new. And the second one is you have to get commercial auto loan. There is no other way if you are in California. If you are in other states, please go and search around, go to Uber Hub and ask questions that, do I need commercial auto loan? If you don't, for example, I think in Dallas, Texas, this is not a fact, but from the group chat that we have in Telegram group, there are people saying that in Dallas, you don't need all this stuff. You just buy a car. It is okay to get under a personal auto loan, and you go and start driving for Uber Black. But this is not the case in many other states, in many other places, especially in California. So please do your own research before making that huge mistake and getting a car under a personal loan.